I'm a full-time artist and this is how I got here, as an introvert. Hey, I'm Jazz. I paint original paintings, murals, and create designs for surface patterns. Things like textiles, apparel, stationery. I've worked with some amazing brands like Kathmandu and Cricket, John Sands. Now, I love a good origin story, so I'm going to tell you about my career. I grew up in a small town in New Zealand. If you had asked me what I wanted to be, I always wanted to be a fashion designer. After completing high school, I went to fashion school, and while I studied, I had a job at a fabric store. Once I graduated, I was grateful to get my very first job at Pumpkin Patch, a kids' clothing brand. My job was an assistant drafting the patterns for the clothes. And then I got pulled into the design room. So many art supplies. This shifted me into the world of production, design, manufacturing. My first account was the teddy bear range. So cute. Then I moved into girls wear and boys wear. I look back on these roles that I had at Pumpkin Patch and it was a unicorn job. I got such a broad overview that I would never experience again in the fashion industry. Some of the things in my job description were planning trend research, garment design and construction, print design, manufacturing and production, organising photo shoots, being on the photo shoots, dressing children, oh my word, those skills came in handy. Budgets, communicating with manufacturers overseas. After about 5 years there, my husband and I got married, sold everything we had and moved to Amsterdam. We backpacked around Southeast Asia and Europe, and then I got a job working retail in Amsterdam at River Island. Retail staff, severely undervalued. Eventually we came back to New Zealand. I worked in clothing production for a few years when I got back. Then I started my own clothing label, which was a lifelong dream, and I hated it. I got so busy wearing all the hats, doing all the things, and the first things I found I could outsource were things like the sewing, the construction, the pattern making, all the things I loved. I loved being on the tools, the tactile, doing the things. And the design side was such a small part of everything that needed to be done. So we moved to the countryside. I got a job here down in Mount Maunganui working for a local brand called Nine, designing for them for a season, and then the contract had ended unexpectedly. I was tossing up between looking for another job or going freelance, maybe the graphic design, textile design route. During this little limbo phase, we decided we'd start trying for a family. We were super shocked and incredibly fortunate that a few weeks later I found out I was pregnant. Then I felt freelance was really my only option. Honestly, I took on any job that I could. I said yes to everything. I needed the cash and I needed the portfolio. A huge milestone for me in this time was landing my very first art licensing contract. I'd also rediscovered my love for sketchbooking and manual mark making. So it was about this time I started getting an itch. An urge? A desire. A desire to paint something big. Kenrick, my husband, bought me a big piece of plywood and I went and got some house paint, threw some paint around and painted something. It was horrendous. I still have it. Shall I go and get it? I'll go and get it. So here she is. I mean, it's not that bad. There's an attempt at some texture and layering, composition, I guess. I'm not mad about some of these marks. I honestly, in my head, it was a lot worse than this. It looks like I had fun with it, and it kind of had a domino effect on my mural paintings. Do I like it? No. But, you know. The big upside was I just did something. Through this little project, it gave me enough confidence to apply for an artist call out that I saw. It was for a mural project. I applied, I was straight up with them and said, hey, I've never painted a mural before. I'm a textile designer. I'm used to like 1.5 meters wide, not like 5 meters wide. And that my usual medium was digital, not painting. They were so supportive. There was 2 other artists there painting murals and they just took me under their wing. Thanks Shane and Alex, especially as I was 20 weeks pregnant climbing up ladders. And I got a taste for how amazing and supportive the artist community is. So we'll fast forward a little bit. I had Ivy, pandemic hit, crazy dynamic shift that happens in a family when you have a young baby. I was really struggling with postnatal anxiety. New Zealand was in lockdown and I started drawing again in my sketchbook. And I kind of drew my way through a really difficult time. We were having counselling, and I also discovered art therapy, which is really foundational for me now. I was really struggling with the isolation of living on a rural property. Rural property in the countryside. I was really struggling with living in the countryside and being isolated. We moved into town close to the beach, close to my parents, and we had so much more support. And I slowly dug my way out of a really crappy time. Ivy was around 18 months and just started daycare. I just threw myself into art and I found a whole new identity for myself in art. Maybe a little too much sometimes. I loved posting my work on Instagram back when my content suited the algorithm. I took my creative process from my textile design. I began painting it. I created 3 pieces painted on pieces of plywood. One of them was on each side. I just used anything I could, and I'm painting in house paint with like hardware brushes. A friend of mine saw my work and said to me, "Why don't you pitch to a gallery?" So I did. I asked them if they would be interested in me creating a series of work around any one of these paintings, and they said yes. This whole approach is really commercial, which comes from my commercial background in fashion. Creating something, testing the product, making more of it. This is something that I am slowly beginning to evolve out of, having more of a balance between painting what I want to and what's in here versus painting what sells. So early in my painting career, very much just paint what sold. I've got bills to pay. I still need to make art that sells, right? But there's also a part of my practice now where I am just painting what I feel, what I want to, and exploring and not having an end product in mind and painting horrendous things. Now I just want to mention my mum here. She also paints, and she's taught me a lot in the way of composition and tips and tricks, constantly giving me supplies and things to play with and experiment with. She's been amazing. Should we do a highlights thing? Yeah, let's do a highlights thing. Highlights of my career. Representation by my first gallery. I will never forget that feeling. Painting my first mural, my big art collaborations, so namely Kathmandu, as well as some brand deals with Cricket and Mitre 10. Once we were in a much better space, we decided to have a second baby, which was a little bit of a difficult decision. We got into a stage where we're out of that really hard baby phase. My art business was going really well. Our marriage was thriving. I just wanted another baby. So we talked about it a lot and decided that time was good, that we should try again. I found it really difficult to put my art business kind of on pause, and I lost a lot of momentum that I had gained, and the market changed so much. So I've been off maternity leave for about a year now. I've spent a lot of that time rebuilding that momentum, pivoting. The market shifted a lot. I needed to change things up, try some new things. I look back on my career and who I am and have realized there's a few common themes. Number one is that I'm an introvert. A lot of the jobs that I had were in open plan offices, 50 people, really intense, loud settings. I had this desire to create on my own. My young family is really outgoing. I live with 2, potentially 3 extroverts. What I love about my art business is that I work from home. This is my garage. This is where I re-energize and can act on all those creative impulses. It's where I feel the most me. Does that make sense? Another common theme is that I like ideas. I like trying things. A lot of what I've done is throw it against the wall to see what sticks. Let's try art prints. Let's try originals. Let's try murals. There's things I've done or opportunities that I've taken on that I haven't necessarily liked or don't build me up, so I don't pursue them. But when I do find things that I like, then I do more of those. Another common theme is learning. I like to learn. And each year or so, it seems like I take on something that I want to learn. Painting or art licensing, painting a mural. Last year it was Etsy, and this year it's YouTube. And I'm grateful that I've designed my art business in a way that I can allow for the flexibility of those kind of things. To learn and to grow and to change and be dynamic. Okay, that was a lot. I would love to answer any questions that you have. If you don't ask me questions, I will just ramble. So, whichever you like, you know? Do people even want to know this? But the damn ovaries. Rural. Oh, so good.